Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Live It Up, the show where we explore and discuss how to take your life to that next level and beyond. We cover health, wealth, relationships, and how to create a life that you absolutely love and one that feels good because, well, that's all we really want in the end, right? We want to feel good. I'm your host and coach, Fletcher Ellingson. Amy will be with us today on the health segment of the show, so stick around because health is the first wealth. You know, I really enjoyed this time we have together. I love that you're tuned in, and I love that you're listening because I think this conversation that we have here every week is really important. I really do. I believe that the main thing people want in life is to just feel good. So let's talk about some things that put us into a feel-good frame of mind. And that's what we're going to do today. We've got a special conversation planned for you to help you feel better and bring a level of awareness to your life so that you can perform optimally. But before we get to that, I want to remind you that if you have questions that you'd like us to answer on or off the show, you can email them directly to me at fletcher@fletcherellingson.com. You don't need to suffer. There are answers and solutions and ways to get unstuck and move forward powerfully. So we talk a lot on this show about reaching out because it's a sign of strength, I always say, right? And it really is. Some people say you're weak if you ask for help, and that's not accurate. The accurate story, or the preferred story that I have, is that when people ask for help or advice or counsel, it means they're strong. And that's the perfect lead into to today's email. It says, "Dear Fletcher, since COVID hit, I lost my full-time job, and I now have to work two part-time jobs to try to replace my income. We also have to get creative with childcare since our kids are doing school remotely. The shortfall of income has derailed us from our goals, and working two jobs means I'm away from home several hours a day more than I had been. This is impacting my marriage as well. It feels like we're ships passing in the night with little energy left for the relationship. We get along fine, but there are a few options for me to take her out on a date like we used to do. Also, the house never seems to get picked up. Meals still have to be made, laundry, and on and on and on. I'm hoping to get my previous position back someday, but obviously no one knows when that will be. I think we are feeling worn out, and I'm not sure what to do. Advice?" Signed, Chris. Well, Chris, first off, I totally get that you're feeling worn out and you're not sure what to do. Things feel tight financially and a bit out of control around the house, and it doesn't feel good. And it reminds me of an incident that recently happened. It is not to me, but one of my clients, and they shared the story that I'm going to share with you. She told me that she had recently been feeling very similarly, and she'd been dealing a lot with personal and professional challenges, and the demands on her time and the emotional and financial stress she was feeling, it was really beginning to mount, and it didn't feel good to her, and it was affecting her sleep, her overall ability to navigate life in general. And so she did something she typically wouldn't do. She called her team together and she asked for their help. She asked for their support, and she shared vulnerably that she needed help. She needed help with the load that she's been carrying, and she needed some grace, and she needed some understanding. Talk about getting vulnerable, right? It's a pretty vulnerable thing to do. It takes courage. And she shared that she felt like she was just treading water, with her head just barely above water, and she's worried that she felt like she was going to go under. So she just talked about her struggles and kind of those feelings, and she asked for some help. And she was delighted, she said, that and moved that and delighted to discover that her team really listened. And actually they really rallied around her and let her know that they had her back, that she could count on them, and that they were there ready and willing to pitch in. And she said that felt so good. She said it felt like such a huge relief. And the neat thing she realized is that there are people ready to help. And many times you don't have to look very far, but you do have to ask. And I know that can be a little daunting for some people, but focus on how good it'll feel to get that relief, and let someone lighten your load. And when you get the help you need to move forward, it also puts you in a position to pay it forward and help others. And when you think about that, the more people that are doing well, the more people that feel good, the more unity we see and the better our world works, that feels really good. So what I want to ask you, Chris, is who can you reach out to? Do you have family that live close by that could come by and help with the kids once in a while? Heck, I mean, even if it's for 90 minutes, just so you and your wife can go out. And if there's not enough money to go out to dinner, at least go for a walk, go for a drive, go to the park. There's lots of things that you can do that don't cost a lot of money or any money at all. In fact, my wife and I just went out the other night. We took our cribbage board to the park. We love playing cribbage, and the sun was out. It was a beautiful blue sky, beautiful park. We grabbed a chair and at a little table that they had on the sidewalk, and we played cribbage, and that was fun. So if you don't have family nearby, do you have friends that can help out? And believe me, I really understand that it can be uncomfortable to ask for help, but do it anyway, because what's the alternative, right? Begin practicing asking for help. It'll get easier and easier to do. And believe me, there are people who want to help. There really are. There are people who love helping. It feels good to them to help other people. And if you're uncomfortable asking for help, practice it. What do I mean by that? Practice. I know that might sound silly, but just practice it out loud. It might sound something like this. Hey guys, I've got a lot going on in my life. My plate is really full, and I'm having a bit of a hard time navigating. I'm feeling like there's a big burden on me, and I just need a little bit of help. I need someone to watch the kids once in a while. Would you be willing to help me out? Are you able to help me out? And that's all it is. You're just saying words. But you can practice this in the mirror. You can practice it with your wife. Practice it before you get on the phone and ask. Again, it sounds silly, but practice it, because it'll make it easier. And then once you make that request, you'll realize, like, oh my gosh, that didn't kill me. And I can do it again and again and again, and it'll get easier and easier. Chances are very high that there are people in your life who can help. And that means a sense of relief in your future. I know you can do this, Chris, and I believe in you. All right, we're going to take a commercial break, then we're going to be back for a neat conversation with Amy, so stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to Live It Up. We are back, and Amy's joining us. Hey there.
I have joined you.
All right, I always like it when you join us.
Thank you.
Hey, so before we get into the topic today, that I'm really excited to talk about.
Yes, you have been saying how excited you are.
Let's talk about first some things that feel good and that are working well. So give me a couple examples of what's going well in your life.
Okay. A couple things come to mind. One is I have been doing strength training for the last, it's been maybe 3 months, 3 days a week. I've only been doing 14 to 18 minutes at a time, taking it very slowly so I haven't gotten too sore ever, which feels good. And I've noticed just a massive improvement in my strength and even just carrying heavy things. And I always tell my patients, especially over age 35, you need to be doing strength training, weight training. It makes such a big difference, blah, 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 blah. But I'm someone who does not like strength training or weight training. So I have been taking my own advice, and with the help actually of our daughters, helped me get into it. And I'm feeling really good.
Yeah. And you're just doing, like you said, like 14, 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, 3 times a week.
Yeah.
It feels really good. And the second thing is work feels really good. We've gotten really busy again, and I work for Three Rivers Hospital and Clinic, and one of the things I really appreciate about them is that before each meeting, we all recite, different people take turns reciting the mission, vision, and values of the organization. I've never worked for a place that does that, and I feel like it really speaks to the character of the organization and of the administration, and I'm really proud to work there.
I like that. When you take time to do that, it keeps the vision present, right?
Yeah, it really
makes
does.
It present for everybody.
Yeah, so I feel like they have very intentional and supportive leadership, and they really care about the community and the whole county. They really take the responsibility of the whole county's health. They really want to make an impact there. So.
Mm-hmm. Right on. Good.
Yeah. What about you?
What about me? So a couple things that have gone well or felt really good in my life was, as you know, we were signed up to do Chelan Man, myself with some of our friends, and that was canceled, obviously, because of COVID. But I really wanted to do it because it's been kind of a standard of mine for the past number of years to be able to go out and do an Olympic distance triathlon, and to keep that as my kind of benchmark of fitness. And so we were looking forward to it. It got canceled, and so we decided, let's just get together and do it, the three of us. And so we set another date, and then the smoke came with all the fires, and we couldn't do it, so we had to move it again. And so it was just a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago, I guess 3 weeks ago, we went out and did it. We went out and did the distance, the Olympic distance, the swim, the bike, and the run. And it felt really good, not only to do it with my friends, and we just kind of did it really casually. We just did the distances and had fun and stuck together. But what I really loved about it was, it's important to me to be my word, but you can't always be your word. But and I think you mentioned this to me a while ago. You can't always be your word, but you can always honor your word. And I love that concept of honoring your word. And sometimes that just means recommitting, right? If you can't be your word about a certain date or something, you can recommit or recommit and with a modified version of it. And so that felt really good to do. And the other thing that's feeling really good is business. I love that I get to work with so many fun people out there, a lot of entrepreneurs who are really, taking their commitment to that next level, and in doing so, seeing, real breakthrough results, and that always feels good.
Yeah, you always enjoy your coaching sessions. You
Absolutely.
You get off the computer so excited.
Yeah.
So I think today we're going to be talking about something that you are very excited about, which is paying attention and considering how our emotions and how they affect momentum.
Yeah.
And I know that's something that you work with your clients on, is momentum and flow and emotions. So would you like to tell me what you're so excited about?
Yeah, so we'll get started, then we'll take a commercial break and finish up. But I'll introduce to you, and you're pretty aware of this already, but humans are designed to want. Mm-hmm. We are just designed to want. From the moment we're born, we're always wanting, we're always desiring, and it doesn't mean we can't appreciate what we have, but we're always wanting what's next. And a lot of people, when they hear this, they'll say, "Oh, no, that's not me, Fletcher. I'm really satisfied with what I have." And again, I'm not saying that you can't be satisfied and appreciate what you have, but you're going to want the next thing. And again, some people listening say, "Nope, that's not me. I don't need anything else. I don't want anything else." Except you do want more oxygen. You do want your heart to beat more. You do want more connection in your life. You do want more love. You do want more of the same amount of, at least the same amount of money you have now, so that you can pay rent next month. You see, we're always wanting. We're always wanting. We're always wanting. We always want the next version of the phone or the tablet. We want the new experience. We want to get our hair cut. We're always wanting. We want our next meal. And what I find so brilliant about this is that this is not something that we have to sit down with a cup of coffee and go, what do I want? These wants just show up. They are automatic, because that's how the human body or brain is our DNA is programmed, so that we want, because that allows us to have experiences, that allows us to grow. If we didn't have any desires or wants, we just kind of shrivel up, right?
Yeah.
The want for water, the want for food allows us to stay alive, right? So the wanting is really neat. I have a new appreciation for it, because before, especially having kids, they're always wanting. Yeah. And in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, can you just stop with the wanting already? And then you and I talked about it, and this has come about, evolved. This thought has kind of evolved over time. But now I get they can't stop wanting.
Yeah.
They're going to want.
Well, and I think the other reason that maybe some people shy away from the wanting is we get trained to maybe not want too much. And the two reasons I think that maybe we get trained that way, number one is we don't like to be disappointed, and we haven't really practiced how to be disappointed in a way that feels okay, and that we're not like getting mad at people all around us when we're disappointed. And the second thing is I think that if you want and you're super attached to having that exact thing or having it happen in a certain time frame, then there's also more disappointment and there's suffering. So I think that the wanting in and of itself also needs to be a little fine-tuned, so you're not wreaking havoc by being upset from being disappointed, and that you're also not super attached to it being like, having it to be a certain way.
Yeah, I love that. And I would add to that too is the other thing that I think people shy away from, like, or trying to discourage so much wanting, is because they associate it with greed.
Yeah.
And it's not it's not a greed. This innate wanting just propels us into experiencing life. And so you can have a lot or a little and appreciate and be satisfied and still want that next experience, right? It doesn't have to equate greed.
Yeah.
To equate to greed. Now, because we have this want, so we're going to take a short break here in a minute, but we're gonna move now. What do we do with all these wants? How do we get in alignment with them and actually achieve those goals or wants or those experiences or those relationships? How do we get to that next level of actually manifesting them? So there's this gap between the want and how we actually achieve them.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I'm super excited about.
Great.
So stay with us. We'll be back in just a minute. Hey guys, welcome back to Live It Up. We're here with Amy and we're talking about wanting. We are talking about always wanting more, and not in a bad way, not in a greedy way, but from a place of just understanding that these bodies, these brains are programmed to want. It kind of keeps us surviving.
Yeah.
And the more that's introduced to us, the more technology, and the world is like growing and developing so quickly because of technology. And as we see that brain that's programmed to want, it wants to know, wants to find out more, it wants to experience. And so where we left off was we've got these wants, and then there's a gap in between experiencing the want. And I love this part. This is so exciting to me. So just like we were programmed to want, we were also programmed with this mechanism to drive us into action to actually achieve those. And that is, and what I'm suggesting is those are our emotions. Our emotions are what are the driving force to get us to actually take action. Because so let me ask you a question. Can you think back to
I'm in the hot seat.
You're in the hot seat. Let me. We'll just take your recent new job up at Three Rivers.
Uh-huh.
There was a point in your old position where you're like, I think it's time to move on to a new position, right? And you had this vision, you had a want of moving on. But what was it that really drove you to actually get into action?
Well, I was not happy in my current position, so I was feeling unhappy.
Yeah.
And I did have a vision of my perfect job, because someone had once told me, it's like, no one's going to just give you your perfect job. You really need to create it, write it down, think about it. So I had that vision, and I was unhappy enough.
Right. So there was an emotion there that we're calling unhappy.
Yeah.
And that emotion of unhappiness kind of began to drive you. It was a driving.
I do want to say I wasn't unhappy with any of my patients in Chelan. I loved you guys, so you kind of brought up a prickly subject.
But you also had another emotion at play too, right? Because you said you sat down and you wrote out your perfect job, and as you focused on that perfect job, what was the emotion that you experienced then?
It felt really good. It felt like peace and calm and accomplishment, but it felt like peaceful and without frustration, so like easy or smooth. I guess smooth.
Right.
Yeah. And
so you had these two emotions driving you, and that allowed you to kind of take actions that were in alignment with like creating a result that you wanted, right?
Yeah.
And the actions were what?
Well, I looked up and saw a job posting.
Yeah. So we got into action. based on those emotional drivers. And what I want to suggest is that that's what we're doing all day long. We have a want, and then there's an emotion that allows us, is the driver, and allows us to get in line with that want. And so sometimes when I work with my clients, they have this want, but they don't have the emotion that's in alignment with the want, right? They may have a want, but the emotion might be like, I can never get there, and so they feel sad or discouraged about it. And so they don't take any actions to get there because they actually feel discouraged about it. And so all that's needed then is to kind of tweak that emotion. Like, how do we get to an emotion that feels empowering? Because if you feel empowering, and like the emotion you had, like calm or hopeful or optimistic or peaceful, then you'll get in alignment with an action that drives you to that goal. Does that make sense?
It definitely makes sense. And I mean, if you use the job idea for me, I did feel like it was out there. I felt like that job was out there. I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, it's never going to be out there.
Yeah.
So I totally hear what you're saying. So I at least had the momentum of knowing that it was possible and it was out there. I just didn't know when or where.
Right. And that's the other fun thing too. We don't always have to know the when, the how, the why, but we can trust that, because I want it. And this is the other cool thing. If we want it, we can almost play this game like, since we have the wanting, it means that whatever we want is out there. And it's just a story I'm making up, right? But it's an empowering story. Whatever I want is already out there. And when you realize that, it can be a really hopeful and optimistic feeling. You're like, wow, whatever I want is already out there?
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to go and create it, it's already out there? That's so cool. So all I need to do is get in alignment with my emotions that allow that to come to me. Now, it's very philosophical and easier said than done sometimes, but this is why we want to practice really managing our emotions.
Well, I think that, and the caveat, because I hear people sometimes say, well, what if I want a Twinkie? And I think, so like, well, let me ask you that. Like, what if I want a Twinkie? What would you say about that? And it's not really in alignment with the health goals I have for myself.
Yeah, so this is where we get into the practicing. So we're practicing thinking you want a Twinkie. I get that. Twinkies are yummy, right? We want those. But the practice comes in where we say, let's practice on focusing on how good it's going to have health and vitality, how good it's going to have to have strength. And we focus on that instead. And then the more we focus on it, the more we feel it. The more we feel it, the more it expands, and ultimately we're going to make a decision that's in alignment with that.
Yeah, or like, I wonder if also when you want something, if you take a moment and think like, is it good for me? Is it good for the community? There might be some part that's not good, but is it for life, rather than the Twinkie would be very momentary, and then there maybe would be a lot of maybe 10% good and 90% bad.
Right. So again, easier said than done, but I just wanted to share that today because it's cool. Made a huge difference for myself and my clients, and we gotta go.
Yeah, we gotta go.
So it's time to get out there. Be a source of kindness, be a source of contribution. You have something to offer this world, and we believe in you.